Hey, David, it's great to see you again. Sean Quinn with All Point Retail here today. And David, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thanks for the invitation, Sean. Yeah, David Croock, I3 International, Vice President of Sales and Marketing.
Awesome. Yeah, I think the topic today is really beyond loss prevention, right? We get asked a lot, or I get asked a lot when I'm out there because at All Point we cover kind of all the different technologies within the retail space. And so one of the things that comes up all the time recently is everybody says AI, AI, AI. That's great, but what's actually in use? How are people actually executing? What technologies out there are give me a real world use case where people are using it, not just conceptually talking about it. I don't know if you hear something similar.
It's you hit the nail right on the head, Sean. It's AI, AI, and a lot of it is, people are looking for generally some kind of operational efficiency. They're not sure how to get there. They think AI is the magic bullet that's going to help them and their businesses, and they just really want to know more detail about what they can do with AI today.
Yeah, and I always say it, video systems are probably the most overlooked technology in the retail space. And what I
Yeah.
really mean by that is it's there, everybody has them, and for whatever reason in 2025, it's still like, well, yeah, I've got a video system. It's for slip and falls. I can record some video and give it to the cops or the attorneys if something happens. And if that's how you're using video, and I'm probably preaching to the choir here, right? Like
Oh
that's
yeah.
the lowest level of video nowadays that you can pull out of it. Yet I'm surprised at how many retailers are still that's the level they treat it as.
And yeah, and that's the reality, Sean. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Is like cameras in the past were simply about, slip and falls, recording an incident of some kind, tracking that incident, or they're catching bad guys. And that's really what they looked at the technology for. But that traditional video camera, I think people are very surprised to understand today, is that it's more than just a camera. It's now become a data collection device.
Yep.
And people are very interested and they're and you can see their them perking up and saying, really, is that possible today? And things that you hear about in the media, and they're going, wow, I had no idea you could do that. And the reason why is the AI software itself is advancing so quickly along with the actual camera. So
Yeah.
retailers themselves are they have a tough reality today.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things, when you talk about this slide saying retail reality, right, is everybody says they want to use it, yet, my margins are shrinking. I can't get labor in the stores. My labor cost is rising, and I can't even get people to work for me. I know there's all this data out there. I have no idea how to aggregate it and actually use it for real time intelligence. Um, and then they don't think of the video system as part of that. And one of the things I say all the time is there's two technologies in your store that have the most data points. One is your point of sale, the amount of data and intelligence you can pull from every single transaction, customer, loyalty, basket size, you name it. And then couple that with video, which is really your eyes and ears to what's going on in that store. With every time date stamp, every geofence, every line and technology you can put in there, you combine those two data sets. Now you have something that the AI engine can learn off of and actually present data to, right? Because people still think, oh, I got to scroll through the video to go find what I want. Nobody has time for that. Like, no, that's why you use AI, right?
Eh,
Let
and
them do it.
that's exactly it. And once you explain that to people, they sit back to, yeah, you know what, Sean, that makes sense. That is the two most important things I've got from a data collection perspective. And when you combine the two, the solutions that you can have can gain you that operational efficiency. But more importantly, in the path where you're starting to see things go in the next 18 to 24 months, as the AI learns more and more and more, you're going to get into predictive analytics.
Yep.
And that's where you start really changing the dynamics. Can I predict things like my operational efficiency of my workforce?
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's
And can you
that's
actually
that's where it gets special.
can you get alerted real time of what's working or what's not working so you can make an immediate change, which actually has an immediate benefit to revenue, right?
Yeah.
Either efficiencies, I'm going to save money, but more importantly, when I can actually make a real time change or management tools that I can work with my associates in the stores to gain more revenue, right? And that can come from the system.
Yeah, and to your point before, like, is there enough intelligence now in my camera systems, in my POS systems, for the ability, for example, it's this time of the day, it's this time of the year, and this many people are now in my store that I know, and this is a probability that we're going to have a rush at the cash registers. Can I predict that ahead of time?
Yep. Yep. I was just going to say, let's kind of jump into it. I mean, this is your world, and you've got a lot of these installs in different retailers as we do as well.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the real world applications that you're seeing a lot of your clients take advantage of, David?
Yeah, you're obviously you're doing the traditional things. You're trying the people are trying to figure out door counts. They're trying to figure out conversions rates, speed of service, traditional things like tracking people, where they're going, what's heat mapping, what they're you know what they're doing when they're actually in the store, where are they spending the most time. Um, you're also looking too, and you mentioned this before, in the reality of retail, it's pretty competitive out there. There's lots of competition. There's economic headwinds. I got to reduce costs.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
to I got to figure out, am I experiencing a high shrink? How can I do? How can I help that? What can I do?
Yeah, one of the
Uh,
like exception monitoring that they've got up there right now, I think that's one of the sexiest features that can be delivered by the integration of point of sale and video, right?
yeah,
Is the idea that, amongst my 20, 50, or 1,000 stores, I can say, hey, I want to know every time, somebody does a refund to cash and there's not a client standing in front of the POS. I want to know that because that means there's probably a high probability of fraud or something's going on there. And then to have the system be able to present that to you out using the AI moniker and then saying, okay, anything abnormal out of that, we're going to present it to you with a 2 minute video clip, the receipt, the associate that was logged in at the time, so that a manager can, or a loss prevention person can quickly review that and say, hey, we got a problem at store 32, or we got a problem with, this associate that every time they're in, the
yeah.
metrics change, right?
And you're right. I mean, so now when you are linking those two technologies together, just like you said, Sean, um, you're reducing the cases, the amount of time that somebody in the loss prevention team will have to spend on cases. You're actually
Yeah,
you're actually finding a lot more incidents of shrink that are happening and internal theft because
yeah,
the higher probability is there. And like you said, it's a higher probability chance that if somebody is touching a cash register when there's no one else around, there's a high probability that it may be some kind of internal theft. And that's what you want to look at instead of looking at tens of thousands of transactions and millions of transactions that are happening. Just look at a few hundred.
what's funny is we had two separate incidents for clients immediately upon installing the i3 system, right? So we put the i3 system in 10 or 15 stores, one of our clients, and within 2 weeks, they identified a scam. This is a running chain. They identified a scam that one of the associates was grabbing Garmins, which are, large value devices, and selling them on eBay. Uh, and they were able to do that because of the combination of POS and video, right? And so that was like $25,000 they immediately identified and was able to put a stop to. I had another client that did something similar, and within a couple weeks, also, not only that, but caught a manager that was doing a gift card scam with a buddy that was coming in at the same time, and they were going back and forth. We were able to catch them on shift
Yeah.
and get the actual money back before the cops. I mean, they called the cops, but and as we know in retail, that never happens. You never get your money back, or you never get the product back. But in
Yeah.
this case, they were able to catch them on shift, so they had no loss of revenue, no loss of money, and they were able to fire the person on spot and had them proven with video. So
And now the AI modeling is getting to the point where we start getting a little more predictive of what's happening. But what it's really finding is, it's those anomalies and those exceptions that are happening. And to your point, like we had a customer recently that they had an entire employee network was they were selling their employee discount,
yep,
and they were literally on camera actually taking the payment right there.
yep, Yep.
from the people they're doing it from. And this is, and once you look at entitlement and how long that was going on for, and everything else that was attached to it,
Yeah, that's
the
just it, right? They used to have to find these things through reports
yes,
and sifting through reports, and it would happen over time, and sometimes not till there was a big enough impact that it would hit the P&L of the store. And
oh
now you
yeah,
can find it because of AI immediately, right? And that's all shrinkage. And then what you were kind of leading into, so that's saving you money, right? That's saving you theft and everything else. But then when you talk about predictive analytics and you go to the next one of customer behavior analytics, that's where you start to say, well, gosh, now that I know what's going to happen, it can start to tell you how to become more efficient or how to make more money in certain situations. Because, like you said earlier, you know what's coming, and so you can act, right?
yeah, and you're starting to see trajectory analysis happen with that behavior. So if you can start combining what is a normal trajectory versus which is an abnormal trajectory, but also where that time is being spent around the store, and you can find out product placement and shelf placement and
Yep.
everything else attached with the store. So and it's just about building up all of that data and putting it into the right reporting packages, which don't necessarily have to be the manufacturers. You can use your,
Yep.
Tableau, or you can use Power BI, or whatever else that you want to really crunch that data and undo that data hairball. Because so many companies today, they have literally data lakes going on, and
Yep.
they've got all this data, and they don't know what to do with it. And how do we extract it, and how do we take all that information and make it something that they can actually be presented and understand their customer behavior from it?
Yeah, and I
And
think
that's
it
what.
has to be timely too, right?
Oh yeah,
You telling me what happened a month later at the monthly board meeting doesn't help me, right? I mean,
yeah,
now I'm alerted to it, but now I can take action on it if you can give me that real time with alerts, so that I know, hey, in this particular store, we need to open that second or third POS lane because we have a rush coming, or
yeah.
hey, this why does this store do better than the other store? Because I can see from the associates that they're not engaging with the clients versus this other store. All the associates are engaging with the customers within 3 seconds of them walking in the door. And that makes a difference. That's something that a manager can actually train to, right? When they have these tools at their disposal.
And what's the correlation of that engagement on my revenue?
You got it. Yep. That's how we make money. So,
Yeah,
well, how can this system really make me money, Sean? It's going to cost me X amount a month to put this in, right? I'm like, this is one of the easiest ones, I think, that you can actually show them. Well, gosh, I don't know. Do you want to save it on labor? Do you want to save it on shrinkage? Do you want to make it on revenue increase? I can slice and dice that 5 ways till Sunday for you. But putting something like this in, or a system like this, is definitely able to measure the ROI
yeah,
of
absolutely.
other technologies out there for sure. False alarm reduction. What do you have to say on that?
Well, what you're seeing now from an AI perspective is the software is gaining situational awareness. So it's learning the differences between a human and, let's say, a rabbit outside in front of that's tripping an alarm. It knows the difference between a parked car, and it knows the difference between a moving car. So it's
Yep.
it's gaining that situational awareness that in turn reduces the false alarms compared to, like, for example, a LiDAR solution, which is just simply breaking a laser connection, for example. A
Right.
plastic bag or a leaf could go through it and actually breaks the connection, and then you get a false alarm. But when you're now getting AI, the AI will look out there and realize, oh, that's a person, and I should be watching that person and understanding what they're doing to see if there's a problem with it. And it knows the difference between, let's say, a deer crossing, going to your thing. So what you're reducing is the number of alarms that are happening that are unnecessary, that are costing you money.
Yeah. Agreed. Right. As well as in that same area with OSHA, right? Of what doors are being blocked and are they truly blocked, right? And what are they being blocked by? Something temporary or something permanent? And then you can actually alert and say, hey, go move that. You know.
Yeah, and going back to that, like, and this is when you get into the compliance part of it, and you mentioned the OSHA side. There's the stories are legendary of the amount of OSHA fines that are being handed out to some retailers, and the dollar values that are being reported are astronomical. But it's not just identifying, is that door blocked, or is that fire, um, you know, hydrant being blocked. It's how do you ensure that it's going to be rectified. And can you document that process?
Yep.
And can you demonstrate that, yes, this has happened temporarily, but here's the process that we went through as an organization to ensure that the problem was solved? And that's the ability of artificial intelligence to actually not only identify the problem, but also then combine it with other technologies to have some kind of notification tree, to have some kind of alerting tree going out there. And you can use SMS, you can use phone, you can use email, whatever you want to do. It's making sure that compliance happens.
Yeah, and I think that's why when I talk about this as a management tool, that's huge, right? Like,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
I've put out the company policies, but are my employees actually doing what they're supposed to? And you can't have eyes and watch that at all stores at one time, but this can, right? So AI can tell you, hey, this is why this store is performing better than this store, right? These people are
Yeah.
on team, these are clocking in, these are engaging with clients, these are, merchandising the store, and this store isn't, right?
We were recently talking with a director at a very large grocery store chain, and obviously he's in charge of risk, and he was in charge of a lot of these types of things. And in the past, he would actually have to just travel from store to store to store to store in his region, and it was approximately 30 stores, and he kept, engaged in the same kind of problems and the same kind of violations and the same, try to educate the procedures. Now he was like, he could be at one store doing something different, get the alerts, call that store manager and say, hey, this thing is happening again, please go make sure it's fixed. And it's far more efficient.
Yep. I mean, those are your real world wins, right? Those are what you're
Yeah.
talking about is all this different tech. Once you put it into these stores, it's amazing. I love it every day because every week you're finding out a new use case that's given to us by retailers. Like, hey, here's what I was able to find with it, right? And then we can take that at all point and go to our other retailers and say, hey, here's what good looks like. Did you know you might be using your system for these 5 things, but here's 3 other things that have shown a true impact for the retailer.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, we've got a few of the real world wins on the screen there, but I'll just highlight, like, we can talk about a few of them. Like, one, we have a regional grocer. They got about 50 stores, and they started using artificial intelligence for more kind of organized crime sentry type things. They had the same individuals were going into their stores, loading up a basket, leaving the stores, and every time they're walking out with a couple $100. Um, and so what they actually started doing was started tracking these people, and they started realizing that they were just doing it at one store, they're doing it at multiple stores.
Yeah.
And so what the AI started to learn was, okay, if this person now shows up, they didn't want to actually go after them or confront them when they were actually leaving right in the middle of the art of stealing, because
Right.
you're unsure of what's going to happen, right? You don't
Yep.
want to take that risk. So what they would do is, when that person showed up at the next store or at the same store, as soon as they showed up, they simply were alerted, and then they would approach them and have somebody stand beside them while they were in the store,
Yeah.
to the point that they just said, okay, and they, can we help you? And they would walk away, no, we're good, and they, okay. Then they had, 10 feet later, oh, can we help you? Because they knew that who this person was. And eventually
Right.
people just gave up and they just left. They just stopped coming.
Yep.
Because every
Yep.
time they showed up, and it solved the problem. The same, they then looked at the technology that way, and then they said, well, what if we use it from a VIP experience perspective? What
Yeah.
if we could identify those customers we really want to say thank you to from a loyalty perspective? Can we use it for all these different positives, and we could also use it from a ORC perspective? So
Yeah.
it's all those real world wins that really help you. And the last one I'll talk about here, one of our really good customers is Goodwill. There's about 7,500 Goodwills in North America today. And the biggest thing that they do is they track donations. Donations are their lifeblood. Each donation is worth a certain amount of money to the Goodwill. And if they then correlate the number of donations to a dollar value, and they track that on a regular basis. Is it up? Is it down? Is it comparable to other locations? How is it doing? And they constantly do this to track the health of the business. And it's a simple application of being able to identify that there's an automobile, identify that there's a person there, and tagging a number to it and creating a report.
Yep. And when you just nailed three very, very different examples of real world wins, right?
Yeah.
And I think what's interesting in our business is because we kind of are this overarching of all technology in the store, I constantly get the total cost of ownership conversation, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe I don't get it enough. I'm usually the one bringing it up, but it's like, oh, we got to get a new system. How much is that going to really cost us? And I'm like, if you just looked at the total cost of ownership, and when you look at video systems nowadays, this is not a Herculean lift
No.
to go from your old, you know, Costco system that you bought for $1,000 and put in your stores, and now you've decided to upgrade to a Premier. So we're talking some cameras, and really it's the AI engine, right? It's the NVR, DVR, the main brain that you're putting in there that can actually produce every single one of these things we've talked about here today. So when you look at total cost of ownership, putting an entire system in a store is a few $100s a month, and you can reap thousands, let alone the behavioral changes and operational changes you can get in your organization from it. So TCO certainly, I think, applies in this vertical for sure.
Absolutely, Sean. I mean, you can reuse cameras. You don't have to all buy brand new cameras anymore. You don't have to buy disparate technologies either, Sean.
Yeah.
So in the past, you had to go buy a door tracking device, and then you had to go buy this thing that will do this thing, will do the One system will do it today from a software perspective. So it's saving you instead of paying $50, $75 a month for your door tracker. Now you can do it for $20 because guess what? The camera's already doing it anyway.
Yep, and you're getting 10x of the functionality out of it.
Exactly, and you're far more accurate.
Yep.
It's not reliant upon. It's actually artificial intelligence that can identify it's a person. It's not a laser.
Yeah.
So it's far easier.
Well, good. I mean, I think you and I could talk about this all day, but I think it was a good topic, and I'm glad we did it because you and I were. This kind of came out of you and I talking, and we hear the same things as we go to these different conferences or we get in front of clients, and they're like, "Yeah, show me something that's actually in use out there that works." And I'm like, "Well, we got to get David on the phone. We could talk, forever on multiple use cases of how this is working with, like you just said, you're only using a few technologies in your store, but as you've kind of seen in these last 20 minutes, the amount of data and amount of actions you can take based off of it is amazing."
Yeah. Well, appreciate the conversation, Sean. Thank you for my invitation.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for the time. And you've got a QR code on the screen, guys. Is anybody wants to talk about their existing systems and how they can kind of implement this technology? As David alluded to, this is not a full-blown rip and replace scenario, guys, right? This can be deployed quickly. We have a 40-store retailer right now that we're going in and just switching out the brains of the video systems on using existing cameras, cabling, and everything else. So they can almost do a digital transformation in under a month and all of a sudden get to utilize this technology, right? So it's out there. It works. And so, again, I appreciate the conversation. I'm glad we got it on tape versus what you and I were just chatting about on the floor.
All right. Thanks a lot, Sean. Have a great day.
All right. You too. Bye, guys.
Bye.